Welcome to the Nehemiah Business Lifecycle Podcast. I'm Patrice Tsague, your host. I'm here with our board chair, new author, Susan Schramm, for the long-awaited book, Fast Track Your Big Idea. Not small, but your big idea. Susan, welcome to the podcast. It is finally here.
Yeah, thank you very
Almost. Anticipation.
and thank
Um,
you for your support through all these last.
Yes. Well, Susan, my mother used to say you got to send back the elevator, right? It's a French saying that when you get on the elevator, you got to send it back down, right? All we're doing is sending back the elevator. In other words, you reap what you're sowing. That's all that's happening. No big deal. All we're doing is so. But let me talk a bit about this book. So before we share, so so Susan is an author, speaker, and I love this line, force multiplier. It really ties to her whole process. So this new upcoming book, Fast Track Your Big Idea, it's about navigating risk, moving people to action, and avoid your strategy going off course. As an entrepreneur, I know a little bit about that because most strategies go off course more than do not,
Yeah,
right? So here's what she says. You have a big idea, you want to make it a reality, but you want to do it fast, right? And this it speaks to this generation. We're in a generation of let's get done yesterday. This book was written for you. It is an easy to follow roadmap to help you launch a new strategy that will stick and make a lasting impact, inspire and mobilize people to take action with you from day one. Avoid pitfalls that can slow down or derail your progress. Lead others with confidence and courage despite risk and uncertainty. Those are huge promises there, Susan.
right.
That
Yeah,
is bold. It made me think about many of our leaders know about the book that deals with a fast startup. It was that book called? I forgot the name. A lean startup.
mhm,
It made me think about lean startup. Made me think about traction. It's in
mhm.
that similar vein. Am I on right here? Are you
On it.
kind of?
You're on it. The thing that's interesting is this community of entrepreneurs, whether you are already an established entrepreneur or you are thinking about being one, and that's what I love about the Nehemiah entrepreneurship community. It supports you through your whole life cycle. But the challenge often is that you don't you don't expect risk. You sort of get starry-eyed about your idea, your big idea. And that is wonderful. That is what inspires you. And what I think all of us as entrepreneurs tend to underplay the risk because it sort of sounds like a Debbie Downer, right?
Mm,
Let's talk
mm,
about how it's going to happen. Um, what I learned having launched products and programs and companies and joint ventures and partnerships and ecosystems was that a lot of the time when they got stuck,
mm,
it was because we underestimated one big dimension of risk, which is the people side of risk.
mm.
People think a lot about the product you're making or the service. They think about the financials. They think even regulatory. I mean, there's a lot of things that play into a strategic business model. However, there's this huge assumption that's made, which is um, people are going to do something and they're going to want to. And it is in that a lot of scenarios play out, that whether it's your products, your customers, your employees, um, your community, um, they can misunderstand. The typical thing is even a great strategy will fail if people are confused, if they're skeptical, or they're not aligned.
That's
And
so
that's what
good.
I'm focusing on right now. I'm focusing on helping people proactively address those kind of risks.
Let me back up a little bit. Let's start with the book positioning, and I'm going to get into what prepared you for this and why you're qualified for this. You've positioned this book in an interesting way. You talk about risk mitigation, but yet it's positioned with such enthusiasm. You've almost putting a smile around strategy and risk mitigation, which those two, when you think strategy, risk mitigation, you often think cautious, careful. but you're kind of thinking bright. You're kind of putting bright yellow around. So talk to me about, was that intentional in
I
trying to
love
mix
that.
those?
I'm going to be quoting you on that, putting a smile around the challenging terms of risk mitigation and
Yeah,
strategy, because strategy can be super heavy.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I think that was actually the role I played most of my career,
Mm,
was being that
mm,
smile. Because whatever the big idea is, and I use that word broadly because it can include so many things. It can include a movement. It can include renovating your house. It can include a lot of different things. But when you have a big idea, that's the motivation and the excitement, and you
mm.
don't want to lose that. But let's talk about the parts that you're going to need to think through ahead of time. So you nailed it. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, is be that encourager to say, we can do this. We can think about your big idea and proactively de-risk it.
So you find the great middle ground to make the lawyers happy, the accounting department happy, the operations team happy, while at the same time exciting the strategists, the CEO, and the sales team and the marketing team, right? So
Yeah.
this is, you've kind of, they will love you because you kind of the middle, you kind of a facilitator, because oftentimes the entrepreneur, the sales team, they want to grow. The marketing team, while the lawyers and accountants are saying, whoa, 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 but you're kind of bringing
And
that
the
bridge
operation.
and the
Yeah.
operation.
The
Yep, yep,
lawyers, operational people saying, whoa, whoa, whoa,
yep,
what are we talking about
yep,
here?
yep,
Right.
yep. More
Yeah.
growth.
And
I mean, we can't handle what we got now.
you've hit a good point about the tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we underestimate is the anxiety that creates.
It's
I
good.
think when you're a visionary, you're wired that way. The Lord gave you this wonderful possibility of being wired to have potential. But even in the Bible, we talk about different risk profiles, right? The parable of talents, my favorite story, that sort of talks about the different personality types and why some people say, okay, I'm going to go out and invest, or I'm going to go out and build. And one guy says, I don't want to lose anything, right? And that's often how we're wired. Now, clearly, the message of the Bible is to help us understand we're encouraged to take risks, but we're not encouraged to take stupid risks. We're encouraged to take risks for him that are logical and well thought out. And so the risk profile of an entrepreneur is often a very engaged, it's not aware of risk that much. They're just engaging with it. Whereas some people don't even see risk and get completely flummoxed when it hits them. And often it's those people who are trying to help that are the ones that really see something coming down the road, but don't have a voice to bring it up. And what happens is they start creating fear. The fight or flight in their bodies start to take over.
Mm,
And if you're trying to align a team to take the hill, it's just as important that we flush out everybody's sense of concern as early as possible, so that we can clear the air and let people feel heard, and sometimes spot some things that you might not have spotted because you're running down the road. So that's what I really tried to do with the book, is give people a very comfortable way to bring up the subject of risk, to not have it be a negative, but in fact being a proactive nature, a preemptive nature, and also with team alignment, enable people to have a way to bring people together and talk about it, so it's not like criticizing each other, but just enabling people to be open about it.
oh, I love it. I'm talking with Susan Schramm. She's the author of a new book that's coming up called Fast Track Your Big Idea. She's also the CEO of Go to Market Impact. She's also the board chair for the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community. Susan, let's go back a little bit to talk about what prepared you for this. Uh, this is many people write books around a theory they studied or a thesis they put together, but this for you comes out of experience. Could you talk about your experience? What prepared you to be able to bring this to the masses?
Well, a lot of scars and some excitement. So I worked in corporate Fortune 500 companies, as well as in associations, and I worked with startups and nonprofits. And through all that time, my primary job was helping people take this big idea and get other people to do something. And so the roles I played, I was in sales, I was in marketing, I was in strategy, I was in operations. I played lots of different kinds of roles, had different hats. But what I started to see over time, no matter the size of the company, no matter the stage of the company, I started to see this common problem, which was this underestimating the people side of risk and the fact that when things got stuck, yes, you could say it was the market shifted or the regulation changed, whatever, but actually a lot of it had to do with people's ability to be aware of what was expected and be able to openly talk about it and plan for it. And so I got frustrated, to be honest. I got frustrated with the potential that we were, we'd start a lot of things and then they just crawl.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back and did research. I thought, what is it, me? Are these just my experiences? So I started interviewing lots of people and doing research and history. And people were very kind to share their triumphs and their scars with me. And I realized over time that I needed to write about this and share this more widely. I run workshops with CEOs and leadership teams to help them reboot strategies that are stuck or lay out a alignment of a big new initiative that's going to be a high stakes one. But I wanted to get this kind of information to people who were otherwise very naive in terms of what they might be running into. And the earlier I can help them, the more likely they're going to at least avoid a bunch of mistakes. They might make different ones, but at least these they can avoid.
Wow, that is incredible. So, Susan, let's now talk about the book and this content. Talk to us a bit about what to expect. So, in this book, what will they find?
Well, I lay out 4 principles called acceleration advantage, where I speak to 4 dimensions that are necessary if you want to create a flywheel for a strategy that can keep moving fast, continue to move. And the first is de-risking. The second is this idea of aligning. The third is communicating to move people to action. And the fourth is this idea of adapting. And when you, in each of those sections, have very specific things that you can do, I mean, you can immediately pull out the work exercise or the checklist or whatever for all these, where you can actually take your initiative and go through each of those steps. The benefit I found from people who read it early was everybody could see themselves immediately. They could also see that it was relevant for something else. They go, I really can use this, but they can too. So it jumps out, because the person who really finds this interesting is someone who's really excited about something, but frustrated that it's not moving fast enough. If you're sitting there and you don't have an idea in your brain about what you really, this isn't as helpful if you don't really have something specific you're thinking about. But if you do, it helps give structure. It helps you step you through a way to think about proactively addressing risk.
Oh, that's so good. By the way, Allison is watching. She says, Susan is the best. This book is going to be an incredible resource. Allison, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your comments there. So, we're talking to Susan Schramm. She's the author of a new upcoming book, Fast Track Your Big Idea. She's the CEO and founder of Go to Market Impact. Susan comes with tremendous experience from Fortune 100 all the way to working with entrepreneurs. She's also the board chair of the Nehemiah entrepreneurship community. Susan, let's talk a bit about today's market environment and what you hope this book will do. Right now, we're still facing some uncertainties, right, in the economy, global economy, actually. And so this book is coming at a time where there's a lot of uncertainty. So talk to me about how you see this book contributing to helping entrepreneurs and leaders navigate what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I know that God had a plan, because this book, I was ready to publish this book a year ago, and I used the last year to test the use of it and find out which pieces of it people really found most useful, and tune it and adjust it. And I think that was all part of aligning to a time when, I think no matter what role you're in, whether you're an employee, a company owner, whether you're a student, a teacher, parent, there's a sense of uneasiness and uncertainty. I had one person recently say, when they heard the title of my book, "Are we still allowed to have big ideas?" And I was really concerned
Wow.
because there was a perception that in corporate America, there's so much uncertainty that bosses are sort of ratcheting you back and saying, "Do it my way or the highway," right?
Mhm.
Um, and we have people who, not to their own liking, have now, are now out on their own looking for jobs, and starting companies, as we know, with
Yeah.
Nehemiah. My hope with this book right now is that we can do two things. That
Mhm.
one, it gives people a sense of encouragement that, yeah, your idea, it can work, but you got to plan for it. But it's this, as you say, this smile of, yeah,
Mhm.
we can do this. But the other thing I really hope is that we can have open conversations about risk without feeling defensive or accusing, but actually having a way to talk about the fundamentals. And I'll tell you, the risk I talk about requires you start with very basic aspects of your strategy. What
Mhm.
problem are you solving? Who do you solve it for? Why is it urgent now? Because then, Mark, these ideas you might have had may not be relevant now. Why are you the right person to do it? Who needs to take action? What if things go wrong? How would you adapt? These are just, by the way, I tried very hard not to use acronyms because I spent tons of years in tech. I said, I'm not going to use acronyms, but these are the kind of questions that the book poses. And the risks that I'm talking about aren't complicated. They're just that people don't take action unless they understand these things. So if you do the work to clarify this, one, for yourself, you'll feel calmer and a better leader and more courageous about leading others. So in these times, I'm hoping to equip leaders who have and feel help them be confident about leading even in uncertainty. That's my
Oh,
goal.
I love it. I love it. And of course, if you want to be a part of the book launch, you can go, there's a website that's already up that you can go to there right now, even as you speak. And it's very simple. It's fast track your bigadea.com. Did I say that right?
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
And that's very simple. It's amazing that you actually got that name. Did you have to buy it or was it available?
Yeah, it was available. But
Wow, that's incredible.
I laugh because you go, I had one person say, "Isn't this sort of approach a little rah-rah?" And I said, yeah, I could have written it as a corporate person. I could have written
Yeah,
the whole thing as focusing, let's talk about risk.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
dive
yeah.
into the risk of your strategy. And that is the subtitle, right? Navigate risk, move people to action, and avoid your strategy going off course. But the fast track your big idea was the outcome I'm striving to help everybody feel like they can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I love what you've done with it because again, you put a smile to risk. This will the CEOs and sales people love you, marketing people love you, operations and finance people will love you, and lawyers will love you because at first the title will scare them, right? But then as they get to the subtitle, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we can get into that," because So I think you found the right balance. I mean, this. I mean, think about good to great. Think about some of the great titles, right? Think about lean startup. So some of the most successful books have led with optimism because that's entrepreneurship.
True.
It's about optimism, but yet it's also about rooting things in data, fact, and count the costs. And so you strike a nice balance of both. So you have a launch coming up. So let's talk about that launch a little bit. So as people are watching and listening, right, before we get to the launch real quick, let's talk about the audiences. So at Nehemiah, we have folks at different stages, as you know, from discovery, those who are thinking about business, startup, those who've launched, break even, profitability, scalability, sustainability, and all the way to succession exit. So who is this book for? Could you speak a bit about the audience in line of our life cycle?
And that's one of the things, because I worked with Nehemiah so long, it was sort of the governing plan that I had. Would this be relevant for you at every
Mm,
stage of the business? And the fun part about it, it is relevant, and it's different things at different stages. So if you have are just thinking about a book, just thinking about a new initiative, whether it's a company or a nonprofit or, again, a personal objective, it can help you create a plan. I had many people who read it and said, I wish I'd done this earlier, because they had spent a lot of time going out and telling the world, even setting up 501c3 nonprofits or setting up companies, getting all involved in their darn website, and they hadn't thought about some of these basic questions, right? If you are, however, and what I love about Nehemiah is you do plan for later stages when you're actually planning even all the way to succession. I think what it requires you think about is those you're trying to serve. For many, many people, you might have an idea that you want to grow into a new market, or you want to pass it along to a new person. It challenges you to walk in the shoes of the person on the other side of the table.
Oh, that's good.
It challenges you to think, if I'm going to enter a new market, I may be awesome in this market. What's going to help me move into a new market, a new country, or a new product line? So it really is relevant for growth. It's also relevant when you think about team building, because there's a lot of, when you talk about building an adaptive team, if you clarify your values, and your values are fundamental to how you build your business, which is, I know, how we encourage Nehemiah businesses. It also helps you plan for people who will be willing to make decisions together when things go wrong. And in fact, I reference identity and destiny as one of the tools that can be used to help you clarify your own values and then the team you want to build around you, because these are tough times. And in times that are difficult, you don't want to be that silent boss sitting in the corner office, hoping to gosh, it goes well. You want to be that person out with people, aligning and getting everybody on one page. And what that often requires is openly talking about the things that might go wrong, and do that in a way that allows them to voice those so they're not anxious.
That is so good. So let's talk about your big launch coming up. So October what does that mean in October, and how do you want people involved?
Well, because you are an author who's been through this a jillion times, and I am just a junior varsity author, I would say the current plan is that at the beginning of in mid October is when we're going to be public on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and across Goodreads and everywhere. Before then, if you'd like to go to fasttrackyourBigIdea.com, you can join our launch team. And what that means is you have the opportunity to help us by getting a free download of the book. And then when it's time to go public, writing an honest review of it. The reason for that is that many people, over 70% of us read reviews of books, but only 3 of us write them. Only 3 of us write reviews. So the idea that people who actually found value in it could say, this would be useful, or this is helpful for that audience, would be very, very helpful at getting into the hands of the leaders who need it most.
Oh, I love it. And I also encourage, for those CEOs who are watching and listening, as you read it for the review, also think about the application for your company, right? Having Susan at a retreat for your company, at a conference, those kind of things. You're thinking, okay, how can I use her and this book as a resource for my company? And that's a great way also to think about as you think about 2026 planning.
Well, that's a great point. It's one of the reasons why I'm really pleased that it's coming out in October, because a lot of organizations have big plans for next year, or they had big plans and now they're cautious, right?
That's right.
This is a wonderful time, whether it's your company retreat, or whether it's a reboot where you're saying something we planned for this year just completely fell apart. Let's rethink it. These are the kind of things that can be used for. And whether you do it yourself or whether you get my help, either way, I'm just very, very hopeful that people who read the book or who work with us start to feel a sense of confidence that, yeah, we got this. And not just I have it, but my team's on one page so we can do it together.
I love it. So, Susan, before we land the plane, let's talk a bit about our international. So folks are listening, watching us from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, even Latin America, they're saying, is there an application here for us as well? Could you speak to them?
Well, I many of my launches were international launches. So a lot of the things that I learned and were humbled by actually was the unique needs of each culture and what was common and what wasn't. Um, the absolutely good news is I have readers from all over the world who help shape it. And I tested that very early. Is this relevant in your market? And I had one reader, Kinji, a part of this community, was reading it going, he listened to the book on Speechify. I'm going to be coming out with an audio version in 2026, but he listened to it on Speechify. He said, the only problem with this book is you got to take so many notes because there's so many ideas here. So, but it was interesting because I really wanted to make sure it was relevant and culturally relevant. And one of the things I found is that listening to the other person to hear what they're saying could feel risky is relevant no matter what culture you're in or language.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Susan Schramm, author of a new upcoming book, Fast Track Your Business, Your Big Idea. If you want to join the launch team, if you want to join not on the launch team, but also be a part of giving a review and looking at how this book, get a free copy and see how this book can help you as you do your 2026 planning, go to fasttrackyourbigadea.com, fasttrackyourbigadea.com. So then here's what we're going to do on our side. So I'm just really thinking, what's your schedule? We'll have you keynote our SOS Summit next year and get this book to not only our team, but all our guests so we'll pre-purchase these books and we'll have them for our summit. And I got an idea about Nehemiah for our end of year campaign for them to have these books for free for those who make contributions. So you and I will talk about it. That's what we will do. So as you listen to this, think about what you can do not just this year with your own strategy and company, but 2026. So this is a kind of an 18-month planning or 15-month planning. I just think about how books are great resources to use to reinforce things you want to say, but because she said it, people listen, right? No prophet has no honor in their own home. It all takes somebody else come from the outside, an author, a speaker, a consultant, a coach to come in to say that, and you can build on top of it. Great way to use books to fast track your business idea. Forgive the pun.
It's so true. And you know what I found interesting is it allows you as the leader, to be a contributor instead of the teller.
That's right.
Right?
100%, 100%, 100%. So Susan, if somebody listening, watching, say, hey, I want Susan to come and speak for us or, book sign for us, whatever that means, obviously they can go to Fast Track Your Business Idea. Is that correct? From there, they can know how to get
big idea.
Your big idea. Oh, that's right. Your big idea. I like that even better.
Right.
Listen, Susan, don't you leave yet because I have one more question for you. Listen, if you enjoyed this podcast, do me one favor. I want you to share it. Somebody on your social media, in your network that needs to fast track their big idea. They may be overwhelmed or frustrated or scared about the current economic dynamic. Share this with them. Somebody who may be taking too much risk. You want them to be more calculated about their risk. You want them to think about it. Share this with them. Share this on your LinkedIn, on your Facebook, on your YouTube. Share this on your social media platform. Also, if you want to know more about how to join Susan in this launch party team, go to fasttrackyourbusinessidea.com. Your big idea. I keep saying business idea. Your big idea.com. Fasttrackyourbigadea.com. Also, if you're saying, hey, I would love to be a part of this community. I want to grow my business, whatever stage it is in. I want to know if business is for me. Go to NehemiahEntrepreneurship.com, NehemiahEntrepreneurshipCommunity.com. Sorry, NehemiahEntrepreneurshipCommunity.com, NehemiahEntrepreneurshipCommunity.com. There you can learn about our training program, Biblical Entrepreneurship, Serve with Love, Identity and Destiny, our coaching program, one-on-one group, or you can learn how to become a part of our community. We have members from Asia, from Europe, from Africa, from Latin America, and of course, from North America. Membership does have advantages, right? Go there, join, and become a part so that you can begin your journey in taking your business to the next level. Susan, let me ask you, people are watching and listening right now. They're saying, well, Susan, I'm inspired. I really am, because you kind of gave me a fresh look at risk from a very optimistic perspective. But Susan, I need to convince those around me that this is a great time to still think big. What
Mhm.
advice would you give me? Either my mate or my stakeholders or whatever it is. Give them a tip from the book, because I got to convince stakeholders, right, to still think big. As you said, read a book, but what would you give them right now for them to consider?
One of the principles that I talk about a de-risk system for impact, but one of the principles there is to clarify your why. If you can think big as long as you're focused on solving a real problem.
Yes,
And what
ma'am.
I find is when I work with organizations that have gotten off track, when I go back to what it is that they're trying to achieve, what problem are they solving, for whom, when they solve it, what will be the outcome? It's like fresh air coming through the room. They start to get their roots. And if you can focus first on your why and on the clarity of why now it's still important, that fundamental, platform is a very good place to build upon. If you're focused a lot on the what, today's world will disrupt that. But if you really are grounded in the why and you get very jazzed about the impacts you can have, the lives you can change, the families and communities that you can impact, that connection can give you a whole new sense of conviction to why it's appropriate to do now.
Oh, that is so good. You heard it here, guys. Again, Susan Schramm, new author. The book is Fast Track Your Big Idea. Go to fasttrackyourbigadea.com and learn more. Let me pray for you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord encourage you, inspire you to unearth your talents, your gifts, to fast track them, and to use them in such a way that one day you'll hear those wonderful words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Guess what? He'll not make it rule over much. God bless you. Thanks for watching and listening. Susan, thank you again.
Thank you.